Wrenching it up, gonna wrench it up.
Welcome to Saturday's Wrench.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in again. So today, what I'm going to try and do is get apart the front hub. I'm pretty sure I figured out how to get the front hub apart. I'm still working on the forks. I can't seem to figure out how to get this damper rod loose from this bolt here, and then free it from this stanchion, because it seems to be connected here. It seems to be connected here, and I'm sure that the damper rod is one piece. So this piece under here, it's cartridge, and then it goes up into this damper rod that tightens into this top bolt here. And I'm having a hard time. I know there's this lock nut on it, and I can't really figure out how to get it off because it's very thin, and you have to bend down the spring to get at it, and it's causing me all sorts of problems. If you know how to get it off, please post in the comments. I'd really appreciate any help that you guys can give. Other than that, what I'd like to do today is start buffing my parts, my aluminum parts off. I've been spending a couple weeks at home, really putting in the elbow grease, sanding those down. It did take a lot of time, but the parts are looking really nice now. I'll show you guys that later. But for now, I'm going to take apart this front hub, get it cleaned up with the rear hub, just degrease it a bit. I'm not going to take the bearings out yet because I don't have an extractor tool. So I'm going to wait till I borrow that off a friend or something, and then I'll get those out properly. I don't want to come up with any makeshift ways of getting those out. I'd rather just do it the proper way. Plus, it doesn't really matter because I'm replacing them anyways, so I'll leave them in there for now and worry about getting them out. So I get them cleaned up, start the sanding process on those, and then get them, and then remove the bearings when I have the proper tools. So for now, we'll get the front hub apart. I'm pretty sure I figured how to get that off, and then we'll move on to cleaning them, and then we'll start buffing some parts up. So I have the front hub here. All you have to do is loosen this bolt here. You want to clamp this down. I'm sure you probably could do it on the bike, or probably a better way to do that, but I put it in a vise with some towel to cover this up. It stuck like this, and got my wrench on there and was able to loosen it. A soft mallet helped out at the end, just to give it a little knock, just to get it loose, and then it was able to come off. So you can see this thing will start spinning off, and it'll expose a thread here, and then you should be able to slide this axle right out, and it'll come out with this whole assembly here. For now, I'll just leave this aside, this whole assembly, and we'll work on just getting the hub nice and cleaned up. So you can see my front hub here. Got a little spacer here, and then there's probably some kind of tool that is used to loosen this. I'll leave it on for now, and we'll just work on getting it cleaned up. I'll still be able to work on it, so we'll get it all nice and shiny, and get it nice and cleaned up. Just working on taking the axle bolt, front axle bolt apart with all the parts here. I have it organized. I'm going to take some nice pictures. Just working on this. I'm pretty sure twist this out, it'll come out eventually. There we go. So that wasn't too difficult. I thought it was going to be a lot harder. I don't know why that didn't come out for me before. I loosened the screw here and was able to just pull it out. So there you go. So now I got the cable loose. Look into replacing this. I'm not exactly sure if it needs to be replaced, but I will look into that for sure. So I'll leave this aside for now. I think that's my speed. This is my speedo cable. So looking at that for now, and then I'll take some nice pictures of this all organized, so I know exactly from left to right how these go back together. But now I can work on getting all this stuff cleaned up, because that's going to be showing on the bike, so I want it all clean. So So I'm just gonna give these a quick clean in this degreaser again with this brush. I brush up all this grease here, and then once I get this off, I'll be able to move on to the front hub. I'll do the same thing with the front hub and get it nice and clean, and then I'll wash them off in the with some water, and they'll be ready for the sanding process as well. So I'll be back once I clean these two parts and all the little parts from the front hub off as well. So once I clean these two parts, I'll be back, and we'll continue on buffing the other parts. Okay, so here we are. I have cleaned up all the hubs here and degreased these. These turned out really nice so far. They're going to be really susceptible to that sanding process now, and we'll get them sanded and buffed just like the other parts. So you can see how nice and clean they got just from the degreaser. So now I can move on with the process of really getting them to mirror shine. It's going to take some time, but I think it's going to look pretty sweet when it's all done. Here's the here are the parts for the front hub here, where the speedo attaches, and you can see that it cleaned up really nicely also. So I'm pretty pleased with that. The bolt, axle bolt, also cleaned up really nice. I don't think I'll, spend too much time polishing that up, but you're hardly going to see it. But I might try and clean off some of this rust, even on the threads. There is a little bit of rust on the threads here, so I might try and clean that up. But I'm pretty pleased with the degreaser here. It did a good job, and you get these parts nice and shiny, and we'll get them. We'll keep these aside and definitely not lose these parts, because these are hard to find. So, well, can be. So I'll keep these aside, and we'll continue on now with the buffing process. Just gonna keep my fork bolts, my drain bolts aside, and old seals. I'm gonna keep those because those are gonna help me put in my new seals. So I'll keep everything aside. I made this little card because sometimes when you're, I've been writing on the bags before, but sometimes when you're touching the bags and stuff with your greasy hands, you get you rub out what it's in the bag. So this is a good way to just keep everything clean and neat. Next, I'm going to continue on with the buffing process for my aluminum parts. I've already gone ahead and sanded these parts down to about using an 800 grit wet dry sandpaper. I started at 220, I went to 400, then I went to 600, then I went to 800. I did cut into the metal pretty well, and it's looking pretty good for so far. Some people would even stop here. I actually like this look. It's a pretty cool look. It's like a brushed metal kind of look. So the 800 gave it a really nice look here. So I went to 800 on the sandpaper, and now I'm going to start on my buffing process. For the buffing process, I'm going to use 3 buffing compounds and 3 or 4 different kinds of buffing wheels. I have my buffing machine tied down to my bench here, so that's not moving. What I'm going to do is go through 3 buffing stage compounds. For my first stage, I'm going to use a black or emery compound. My second stage I'm going to use a brown compound, and my third stage I'm going to use a white compound. You want to use a different wheel for every compound. It's very important not to use the same wheel with 2 different compounds, or even 3. You want 1 wheel per compound. For the wheels, I have what's called a sisal wheel. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. SISSAL, and that's the wheel that's fitted to the bench grinder right now. It is like a coarse, like a coarse ropey texture to it. So it's a lot more rough than my other wheels. So I'm going to use the sisal wheel with the black compound. The black compound is to cut into the metal. That's why you don't want to go too far with the sanding process. Anything over 800 and you're creating more work for yourself, because the black compound and the sisal wheel will cut right into the metal and basically erase all the work you've done with the finer sandpaper. So I have a sisal wheel with the black compound. Then with the brown compound, this is your pre-polish kind of. I'm going to use what's called a cotton sewn or a spiral sewn wheel. You can see it's sewn in a spiral pattern, and it's just a bunch of cotton. It's like layers of cotton sewn together, so it gives it a lot of strength. But it's nice and soft. Well, it's like pretty soft, but it's still good to polish, and it'll clean up my metal really nice. So I have one of those for those, and then I have another cotton sewn wheel for my white compound. Same type of wheel, just a new wheel for the new compound. And then my fourth wheel, I have this large loose wheel. It's not sewn together with anything, so when it spins, it expands, and also it's good for getting into like tight little spaces. You know, you have these little grooves and stuff in the metal, so it's really good for getting into tight little spaces like that. So there's this company called Caswell. You can see it on the bar here. That's where I got all these products. In Canada, they ship. They're really close in Ontario. They ship really fast. They're a great company. You can order them online, and you can order in the States as well. I think they're an American company, but they're in Canada as well. Really fair, really good prices. Shipping wasn't too bad, and it was really fast. So on their website, they have a buffing booklet. I'll link to it below, so please check in the information. And I suggest you give it a read. It gives you a lot of advice on how to buff, what wheels go best with what compounds, and what compounds to use for what metal you're using, basically. So this combination is the best for aluminum. So this is going to give my aluminum a nice shine to it. So that's what I'm going for, a nice mirror finish. And again, I'll link to the company below where you can find this stuff. And yeah, we'll get into the buffing process right now. So I'm going to start with my black compound and my sisal wheel, and just go through all my parts here, and I'll be back in a bit to show you some progress. So and this is one of the covers right now, and you'll see it in a little while when I go through it. And I'm going to go through one at a time while my wheel's on here. I'm just going to go through with the black compound on all the parts, and then move on to the brown and then the white. Obviously you want to be wearing safety goggles and a dust mask and some gloves. Make sure you don't have any loose clothing or anything dangerous around the wheel, and just be careful when you're doing this. So here we go. Wish me luck. Basically what I'm going to be doing with this is you want to touch this to the wheel for a second, no more than a second, just to get a little bit of buffing compound on the wheel, and then I'm going to use then I'm going to start doing my parts. Now the wheel is going this way, and to cut against the metal, you want to go against the rotation of the wheel. So that's going to give you the best cutting action in your metal. For the later stages, when I do the brown compound, I'm going to go into the wheel with the rotation, and that's going to give me a nice shine to the metal. So obviously your axis of safety, you know, you want to hold the whatever your object, you want to hold it below. This is a lot safer this way than it is this way. If it catches it, fling into me or something. So just be careful. Also, another little bit of information that's useful, another little tip. I'm using just a saw as a rake. There's a tool called a rake. You can actually buy them, but I used to use the teeth here and just rub it up against the wheel a little bit as it's turning. I do this once in a while. This helps to clean any excess compound that's crudted on there, or you know, any junk on the wheel, and you're gonna use this a little bit to fray out the wheel a little more. So this is a nice little thing to have. You can do this once in a while, but that's a good little substitute thing to have. And obviously you want to do it below your axis here, so you want to do it under here, not here, because it'll catch and hurt you. So just be careful. And I'm gonna start on the process here, and then we'll get these parts nice and cleaned up. So you can see this now, and then I'll show it back in a little bit after I go through the buffing compound, and we'll see what it looks like. So just moving on with the second piece here, I'm just going through my parts with the black emery compound and the Disassembling wheel. You can see they get pretty nice and shiny. This is the stator cover, stator side left crankcase cover, and yeah, it's looking pretty nice. Just look for any scratches and any dings you want to buff out, and like I said, just go up against the wheel and then it'll cut into it. You're gonna find that it's gonna leave a black little film on the parts, so just rub it off with a cloth. A microfiber works best, and you'll see how nice and shiny they get. I'm pretty impressed with this. The process is going really well, and at this stage you want to be very careful not to get trying to get any water on these parts, because it will stain the aluminum. It will oxidize very easily at this stage. You're stripping into it. So I'm just covering mine up with some towels until the next phase of the buffing. So I'm just going through my parts because I have this wheel fixed onto my buffing wheel now, so I might as well go through all the parts with this wheel and the black compound, and then I'll move on to the brown one. So here's the rear brake panel cover for the rear brake shoe, and yeah, you can see that's turning out pretty nicely. There are a little bit of imperfections along the metal, but you know what? I'm not too worried about it. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, I like to sit here all day and get it perfect, but I like the little imperfections. I think it gives it a little more character and stuff. But you could see that result there. That's just the black emery compound and the Disassembling wheel, and I still have to do 2 more compounds on that. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. It looks pretty nice, and I'm just gonna keep going. I'll work out some more dings in the metal. I'm noticing some scratches and stuff, so I'm gonna work some of those out, and I'll be back. Woo-wee! This engine's hotter than Georgia asphalt! My God, look at this. Looks beautiful. And that is just with the black emery compound and the Disassembling wheel. The rope wheel cut into the metal made it really nice and shiny. I'm really impressed with this process, and let me tell you, it's a lot faster than the sanding process. And I could see my reflection. Beautiful. What you're definitely looking to do is just to get out the little minute abrasive scratches that you made with the sandpaper. I don't know how well you can see it in this video, but there are still some scratch lines, so I'm just gonna keep going, try and buff them out as much as possible to cut into the metal a little bit more. So you just got to feel it out. You just gotta, when you take it off the wheel, you get a rag, a nice clean rag, and really just get that polish off from the emery compound, get that compound off, and then you can take a look at it and see exactly which way you need to go with the wheel to smooth out some of those scratch lines that you made with the sandpaper. So take some time, but keep going with it. You'll get a really good feel. I started to get a really good feel and a flow with the wheel and the compound. So I'm just gonna keep at it here and keep going with this one part and really just try and smooth it out, because my other compounds, they're not going to cut into the metal. They're just basically for polishing. So this is the stage that I really want to smooth out these scratches and stuff here. So I'm going to give it a little more time with this, and then I'll be back. Still going through, buffing all the parts out. As you can see, here's the hub. It's looking pretty shiny. I like the way it's coming up. You can tell it's a lot of work. Getting pretty dirty here. You can see my face. See how dirty I am. But this is the kind of shit you have to look forward to when you start buffing. But buffing's pretty cool. It's making the parts look pretty sweet, and it is a long process, but I've been working away at it. This is like a couple weeks since I started this video, but I'm going through all my parts. A lot of work, but it's paying off pretty sweetly. So they're getting all really nice and shiny, and as you can tell, it's coming along pretty good. So bear with me. I'm almost finished, and then as soon as I get all the parts done, I'll lay them out, and I'll shoot a little video when they're all laid out, and it'll be done. So I'm getting there. Just a few more parts to go. I'm on the brown compound now, my second compound with my second wheel, and after this I'll go to the white, and then I'll be done. So almost getting there. So it's pretty fun process. So gonna keep at it, and I'll be back. Alright, I think I finally finished the parts. That took quite a long time. You can tell I'm pretty dirty. You can see my face. I got buffing compound all over the place. So I just want to show you guys the parts and the mess, basically, if you do this process, what you'll have to look forward to. It was a really fun process. I really had a good time, and I feel like I'm a coal miner right now, basically. But super fun process. This has been great, and I'm just going to show you guys the parts on the floor here, everything laid out, and show you guys the progress here. Yeah, as you can see, here's the kind of mess you have to look forward to when you do this stuff. Yeah, that's pretty dirty stuff. So as you can see, there's a lot of dust and crap flying around. It's gonna get your bench really dirty, so just be prepared for when you're doing this, things are going to get really dirty. So don't be doing this in your kitchen or something ridiculous. Definitely want to be wearing a respirator and some safety goggles. You're going to get a lot of dust flying around, like I said. An apron is going to be really handy, and obviously gloves. You can see how dirty those get. And your wheel, it's going to get pretty dirty too. So just a heads up, word of warning. You want to make sure you have a nice space to do this in. So there you have it. I finished the process finally, buffing all the parts out with 3 compounds. I went from black to brown to white. 3 different wheels, a Sisal wheel, then a cotton sewn wheel for the other two blast compounds. And I'm really excited. Finally have all these parts buffed out. It was a super long process, but man, it really paid off. Like, I'm really excited to have all these parts nice and shiny, mirror finish. When I put this bike back together, it's going to look really sweet. So as you can see, all the parts here on the ground, they look awesome. I'm really excited about having everything finished, and I can't tell you how long it's took and get all these parts all shined up like this. I would have to say that it probably took me close to about, oh God, maybe anywhere from 12 to 16 hours per part to get this all to mirror finish. But it was worth it. It's gonna look friggin' sweet when I put all this stuff back together on the bike. So don't be afraid to do it. You can do it, anyone can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So just try it out. In 16 hours, I'm talking about like from degreasing the parts, cleaning them all up, sanding each one, 220, 400, 600, 800 grit. So that's 4 times you have to do each part, and getting into these little nooks and crannies is really time consuming. So sanding all the parts and then buffing the parts. You start with the black compound and a coarser wheel called a Sisal wheel, S-I-S-A-L. I think I said it was S-I-S-S-A-L before, but it's S-I-S-A-L. And that's the coarse rope wheel. That's the first one I did with the black compound. That got into the metal really well. And then you go on to a brown compound with a spiral cotton sewn wheel. And then the white compound with another cotton spiral sewn wheel. And it turned out really well. So you can see how nice all the parts are. And it feels good to have finally be done. That took forever. So yeah, so I'm really excited to get that done. So now, it was a super fun process though, so don't get me wrong. I had a great time coming in here, buffing, using the buffing wheel. It was super fun, and I'm super dirty. I look like a coal miner, but it's friggin' awesome because all my parts look pretty sweet. So what's next? The engine. Probably gonna get into the engine. So I gotta do a lot of research about that. I've never done an engine before, but I'm really excited to learn. I'm going to study some parts, the fichet, and look into what I need to buy basically and what needs to be replaced. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's coming up. So we got the engine to do, and then I got to get the frame, get it welded on, a battery box, and the back seat hoop, and get that powder coated and get all these parts clear coated. I want to protect these parts. I don't want them getting stained from water or anything like that. Get all that clear coated, put the rims and the new spokes and the rims with these sweet new hubs. They're nice looking hubs. Get them all, get the frame back together. Then I can start looking at getting the forks back together, getting the front controls together, engine done, and then electrical at the end. So that's all coming up, and got a lot of videos to do, a lot of more bigger adventures coming up, so big challenging stuff. So stay with me. Subscribe if you can. Really helps out the channel, and I promise I'll keep making these videos until the end. I'll get this bike fully back together. It's gonna be looking awesome. So thanks for tuning in, and I'm really excited. These parts are looking awesome, and I just feel really good about it. So thanks for watching, and I'm gonna go wash my damn face because I look like a fool. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you again next time. All right.
Wrenching it up, gonna wrench it up, yeah. Wrenchity roo, wrench, roo.